Hi everyone, we're coming at you live from Xerocon in London. It's a busy event, you'll probably hear some of the background noise. I am Nick Cole, I am the CMO of Float, and I'm with two of my friends over here. We've got...
So I'm Nick Dent, so I'm from Receipt Bank. I look after our strategic and commercial partnerships, and we also have with us our glorified accountant friend.
Glorified, I like that.
Glorified.
I'm Graeme Tennick from Graeme Tennick Chartered Certified Accountants. I'm matched with me Brandon in terms of this, and I just hope with us three here they've got subtitles so people understand it as well.
There's a bit of a Geordie North East Mafia thing going on, but so hopefully everyone can understand. So actually what we really want to cover today is we want to talk about, I guess, the natural synergy and relationship between Receipt Bank and Float and Xero, and how those applications can work really, really well together to help underpin that sort of advisory app stack for accountancy firms, and how that can help your clients. And rather than us, I guess, rather than me and Nick sort of tell you that story, because I guess it's our jobs to plug how amazing our apps are, we thought it would be much better if we got Graeme along, because he's a loyal and long-term user of both of the apps, to give you a practical explanation of how he really uses those apps together.
Yeah, definitely. So Graeme, out of all of the other software providers that were out there, what made you choose Receipt Bank?
I think the key thing for us is most accountancy firms are built on that traditional sort of nature of the paperwork, the manually clean that into Excel, and everything around that. So for us personally, it was a natural, easy, and almost first step into the progression to get away from that, because you've got all of the glitz and glam of so many other bits of software, but that inefficiency in our firm was massive. So to all of a sudden plug something in which was so quick and so easy, the team were just on board with it straight away. It didn't take a massive commitment or anything like that. It was just a case of boom, done. And there's some other tips along there, but I'll come on to those a little bit later. But yes, it was the ease and the first natural step for us to do that.
And did that also feel like a natural step for the clients as well, to sort of get their heads round and to introduce them to Receipt Bank as well?
The majority, yes, because again, clients, when you actually turned that round, so it wasn't just the benefit for us as an accountancy firm, it was that to a client. It actually translated to something very much more meaningful. So we released it to every single client.
Wow, okay.
And some accountants will shiver at the thought of this, but we give it all of our clients free of charge, free. But that alone allowed them to engage with it. So off the back of that, we said to clients, look, these are the efficiencies we get, these are the efficiencies you get. So all of a sudden that lost receipt, that box full of receipts, that corner in the room, everything like that, the journey to us on that code witness is no more necessary. You don't have to risk lost tax relief, so much quicker, smoother, everything, and then we get efficiencies as well. So, and just on because again, accountants will still be shivering at the idea of giving away free of charge. In time, and we're at this stage there now, we now do a bit of a reversal pricing thing. So because clients now love it, if they don't use it, we will increase their accountancy fee for not having used it, because there's that lack of efficiencies.
Okay.
But that takes time, you don't need to do that straight away, and the efficiencies alone warrant the investment.
Yeah.
And as you said there, some of the tips that I'm quite keen to explore of how you started getting your clients to move from here's a bag of receipts, Graeme, to actually snapping away as we go. And we'll cover some of them as part of the next section.
And so then, once you had that established, did you then start thinking about, well, what else do I need? Like, how did you get to the point where you were thinking, right, well, what's next is cash flow? I mean, one of the things from our point of view is cash flow. Every business in the world cash flow is important to every business.
Yes,
but it's not necessarily always offered as a sort of core service by accountants. So how did you get to a point where you identified that was going to be part of your offering and part of your stack, and then why Float?
Well, I think there's a couple of things as well, because I think here, I mean, particularly at Xerocon, I've said to a few people, I went away software drunk last year. I went away with so many things like, oh, I love this. But we are business owners. You've also got to think of the business owners you're working with. So really, where Receipt Bank came in, Receipt Bank was the foundations upon which you could build. You cannot, in my opinion, you cannot engage with anything in terms of all these other things here, or fully to get the full benefit without Receipt Bank first being in place. But then to translate that into something else from the clients, and all of a sudden, where cash flow comes in, it's a role reversed. It's more on the client's end in terms of what they're really after. And tell me a business that cannot benefit from better cash flow. So again, it's the first natural progression to mass market.
Yeah.
Because it's rather than just say, oh, would you like to have, and I'm not picking on other apps here, but something where you get this really glitzy report or something like that, or would you like some more money in the bank? It's a much easier transition off the back of that. And that was where I started the conversation with yourselves.
Yeah.
And I thought transition-wise and efficiency again from the implementation to clients was really slick.
Yeah.
So it was something where, Cash, are you interested? Would you want to be in a better position? Yes, I would. So then I thought, right, I don't need to have 6 weeks worth of training to put that in place. It was an easy next natural step to build upon from receipt bank upwards.
I think that's interesting because Float was developed to be able to be used by that end business owner. That's where we've come from. We've not actually developed a tool that is for accountants, like all due respect. So I think what that means is that coming at it from the angle that you've just talked about, Float's intuitive, it's easy to get your head around. It is something that we very much encourage you to work with your clients on rather than just giving them reports from something without that visibility. So that's really cool to hear actually from that point of view.
And it's interesting because it's a theme of Xerocon this year, cash flow. In terms of that, it is the theme, so it's perfectly timed because that's the bit which people are lacking, and this is where it's great almost kind of doing it as a joint exercise here because lost cash comes in so many forms, be it a lost receipt, be it the visibility in terms of data, but I'm probably going to go on to other questions here, so I'll stop there, but totally agree. Totally agree.
Very valid points, and that's one of the reasons why we're working with the likes of Float is, whatever system that you're using at the minute to be able to track cash flow or to be able to get your receipts in, actually there's nothing more accurate and nothing more correct than a product like Receipt Bank to instantly capture, and as an accountant that data going into Xero is accurate, it's correct. That then allows you to then do the forecast accurately and correctly based on the data you've come in.
Of course.
And, this is why we chose you, and we're also kind of teaming ourselves. It's that input that then leads to the output. I think that's key. You are right, we are going to ask you a few more questions. I think we're not going to keep you too much longer, especially for those that are working and still trying to kind of understand what we're saying. But what were some of the top tips? If there's accountants watching this who haven't come on board with Receipt Bank and or Float, what is some of the top tips, or what are some of the ways that they can start to implement this, not even just in their practice, but also with their clients as well? So a couple of top tips from you.
Well, I'm actually going to go to the opposite end, and I think this comes from a client and accountancy perspective. You've got to think about the output, you've got to think of the benefit. If you start with there, then work backwards, it's a lot easier to kind of see. But I'm not saying you go and commit with some glitzy reports, as I said before. That's not where you start. But when you've actually got that and say, right, okay, what are you trying to achieve out of this? So almost take, because again, if you go and say, oh, does somebody want Receipt Bank or Float, clients don't know that. So if you focus on the outcome, you then say, right, okay, this is what is going to be important to us as a firm.
Yes.
So the efficiencies with Receipt Bank, and this is what's going to be important to a client, the lost receipts, and managing that. And then the same with Float, a better cash flow position. Start with that. Once you've got that, that gives you a conversation to translate both your team internally, and then also to clients as well to build that up. But then off the back of that, and it builds on what you said there before, none of this is any good without the right infrastructure and foundations. And we've made mistakes with this along the way. So if you are using Excel or a mixture of things with just some clients, then you try to deliver a better cash flow solution for a client. Let's talk about the end position. How can you do that with out-of-date, incomplete information? You simply cannot do that. So you need to have a two-pronged approach, and that is a case of the benefit of the client, and that is the way that conversation goes, rather than focusing on the name of the apps and the guys you're supporting with there. But then you've got to have the infrastructure and the foundations to start off with to do that. So without Receipt Bank, Float doesn't work. But without Float, Receipt Bank, it's limiting the value of it, because all of a sudden it's an internal rather than external benefit. So I would say fixate on that, and I'll go back to something I said at the start as well. At least initially, give it to clients for free in terms of Receipt Bank, and then Float, focus on the cash flow. Clients will commit to cash flow improvements.
And I think from a personal point of view, I've run marketing agencies for years, and actually when we decided to outsource our accountancy, that was all in-house. It was all sort of a bit of a black art sitting in the corner. We didn't have access to those numbers, and actually as soon as we did, the accountant that we outsourced to very much understood our business, and that's the first starting point. He understood our business and very much came to the table with a recommendation. It wasn't necessarily tech-led, it was need-led, which I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
It was like, well, look, you need to use Xero, and then Receipt Bank actually, and that was the first thing that we got. Started us with Receipt Bank, and we did actually receive some of those shiny reports that you're talking about. And actually, what we found was that just because the nature of the business that we were running was very spiky cash flow, it was very fast moving. We didn't get what we needed from those shiny reports. What we needed was something that Float provides, which is something that is decision making, that's something that's live. And as you say, quite rightly, it was great that we had Xero sitting at the core, but it was that we had Receipt Bank in there because we knew that that information that was coming in was timely and reliable. And ultimately, if it's not timely and reliable, am I able to make decisions about my business if it's not?
It's actually more damaging if it's not.
Yeah, I think
it's
you're
just
right.
a scary place to be without it.
I think you're right.
So in terms of your clients, how do you talk about these additional services? I know you mentioned you give Receipt Bank for free, but how do you, when you sit down in front of your clients, talk about the other apps? You know, there's a lot of advisory. You know, that seems to be the main theme at the minute. Everyone should be an advisor. You know. So as in practice, how do you cover that advisory piece, as we call it, and how do you talk to them about these other services that you offer?
I think the key thing, and again the penny's only dropped relatively recently in the last 12 months or so, you've got to take advisory away. Advisory is advice, which is what you should be providing already. So what I would actually say is, off the back of that, break it down to something which is important to the clients. And again, it goes back to that end step. What is it which that client's struggling with? And sometimes I can start with the conversation before you even get into the tech to say, look, what's the main barrier for you? What's your main struggling business? What's stopping you getting from where you need to be? Off the back of that, you say, how can we help you fix that? And then also, without dictating too much to the client, saying, look, this is the solution. So let's not be politicians and give them several options. This is the solution to get to that point. So we had a conversation with a client on Monday where they were opening up a second restaurant. Cash flow obviously being a critical thing. One restaurant was seasonal, one was more local. So I said, right, okay, cash flow is a major driver here. Let's help you with that. But in order to do that, we need to get the data right. So then we put it in place, but also told them, this is what you need. We didn't give them 5 or 6 options. This is what you need, this is the benefit to you, and we are doing this, and that's the cost there.
I totally agree, Graeme, because I'm going back to my personal story. I'm not an accountant, but I'm relatively up to speed with technology. But I was running a marketing agency. I wanted my accountant, I wanted that advisory piece to begin with. I understand your business, I understand your problems, and here's what you should be using. It was definitely part of my decision making that it was like, I don't want to do that due diligence. Like, I want you to have done that due diligence. You're the accountant, I want you to be telling me that.
That's really critical as well, because as the apps ourselves, we sit there and we go, actually, we know it's a no-brainer, we know Receipt Bank's a no-brainer, we know Float's a no-brainer, but for me, you know, you're a real great example of actually getting that information and that education and knowledge across to the clients to say, well, they should be looking at this as a no-brainer as well, and it's a great way that you do it.
And I think it's interesting from a Xero point of view, because the ecosystem that Xero's built is fantastic. But it's also can be overwhelming, you know, there's 750 plus apps now in the ecosystem. So actually beginning with, well, what do my clients need, rather than there's a massive world of apps out there. I think you're immediately narrowing the choice down in terms of, like, because it's time. You've got finite time, and the business owners have got finite time. So if you start with what's the need here? You're immediately sort of narrowing that sort of due diligence piece down.
But also, I think it's a fine line of balance, because there's a fear factor of all these apps are going to replace us, but it's saying, well, if you behave like a robot, you will be replaced by one. But then also, don't get too caught up with the advisory side of things, where it's all this glitz and glam, because you're still offering advice to clients. So literally, you need to find your way along there, but it starts still with a conversation and an outcome.
Great.
So thanks very much. I think hopefully that's been helpful. Thanks very much. Hope the sound's been okay. We're trying to do this live and direct from Xerocon, so hopefully you'll appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.